the Oldsmobile, which is in all their movies, falls in the background. Well, when we were filming that scene, we were in the bottom of a water collection pit, you might say. It's about 150, 200 feet to the top, and a crane picked up the car, and Bruce was standing in the foreground, away from the car, down at the bottom, ready to jump in the scene close to the camera, and you'd see the car fall down in the background. Well, the first time we shot that scene, the crane was moving the car over the open space, but the crane went over the cliff.
The whole crane?
The whole crane went over the cliff. Hey everybody, my name is Al Rizzo, and I was the sound mixer on the movie Army of Darkness. That was a long time ago. 1991 is when we shot that movie. Let me show you, I was going to show you some of the memorabilia that I have from the movie and give you a few stories and show you some pictures of some of the things we had on there. This is actually a picture, this is the crew jacket that I got for the movie. I don't know, can you see that? Bring it this way. There we go, is that better? Okay, is it all visible? Okay, good. And of course, here's my name. So it is my crew jacket. I think there are maybe 100 of these, 150 of these in existence in the world. Oh, you want me to put it down? Okay. There we go, there we go. But anyway, that was quite an experience going there. I had been contacted. I'd been working as a sound mixer all over the country, in Los Angeles and in Michigan, and I got contacted by Mr. Bruce Campbell, who is, of course, the star of Army of Darkness. And I had worked for Renaissance Pictures previously on a movie called Lunatics, A Love Story, which actually starred Sam Raimi's brother, who is Ted Raimi. And I actually have a picture of Ted Raimi. Here's one that's taken on the picture on the movie. Can you see that? All right. That was actually taken on the set of Lunatics, which was shot in Michigan. And it was shot in the Willis School that overlooks the, now, I think it's torn down, the Silver Dome. So that's how I got to meet the guys on Renaissance Pictures. And Bruce Campbell, I mean, for all his comedy chops and all the things he's done in movies as an actor, he is quite a sound guy. He really knows his way around it. He was very involved, I think, with Army of Darkness's the actual sound, not the recording, which is what I did on the set, but he was in the sound mixing and the sound editing. So he really knows his way, and I think that the original Evil Dead, if I'm not mistaken, he was also the person who worked on sound. So we had kind of an affinity, being that I'm a sound guy, and we talked a lot of the things that he wanted to do on the movie, or he wanted done on the movie. And of course, I spoke with Sam about the same thing, and I had a pretty good reputation with them, given the sound that I had done on the movie Lunatics, and they said I was good enough to go work on them in Army of Darkness. So I'm very, very honored to do it, and I always really respected them. I knew them for years. I didn't know them for years, but I did know of them when the original Evil Dead came out. Let me move on to some other paraphernalia that I got here. Here we have my script that I used for the shooting. When you go to sign on for a motion picture, they hand you one of these. Now you look at that and you say, my God, that thing is ratty, it's ripped, it's torn. And I mean, you can go, and I think you can get a script from Renaissance Pictures of Army of Darkness that'll be perfectly pristine. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a wonderful copy of a copy of a copy, or something that maybe they had in, stored digitally, but whatever. But this particular script is very kind of like important to me because this lived with me for the entire production. There are pages in here that are windblown from the desert in Palmdale. There are coffee stains in here that are from a night in the San Gabriel Mountains. There are times when other members of the cast and crew would pick these up. Sam, I'm sure, has picked this script up when I was standing near me and looked at where something was to go on. So there is a tremendous amount of, this script basically lived on the shoot. This was there for all the parts of the shoot that I was involved in. I was involved with a good portion of it. One of the things you will get, if you get a script of Army of Darkness, and it's a perfectly pristine one, it might be more accurate than this script, because they might have taken that script off the final edited project. Now, what you have is, there's a saying in the movie industry, when you write a script or you want to make a movie, there are 3 movies that you make. There is the one that you write, which is the script. There is the movie that you shoot, which is going to be a little bit different given circumstances and things that are going on in the world, and happenstance and lucky happenstance. And then there is the script you edit to make it look, to put the pieces together to tell a story. So it's really 3 scripts. So this script is not probably as accurate as the one, but this is the one that we had when we were shooting. And I'd like to point something out. In here there are blue pages. And I think that, no, it looks like the only cut pages I have in here are the blue ones. Now, when you get a script that they shoot or has been on the set, they usually have a series of other pages in there, other colored pages, because as they're shooting, they may realize that the budget has changed, they don't have enough money to do something, or maybe the story is dictating that they do something else. So what they will do is they will have pages that are inserted, and they're all color-coded according to certain time. In other words, as of this date, this is when we made these changes to the script, and it's usually stuff that they haven't shot yet, although there's reshoots involved. I don't know if I have any of the pages that went to a reshoot, because we were reshooting. I think we reshot some stuff that was 6 months after we had finally wrapped on the motion picture. So that's stuff that it was one day shoot. They said I didn't need pages. They just brought me in and we did what we had to do. But that's the nature of the script that I have here.
What's an example of that, Al? That you should?
What's the example of that? Of one particular scene
that you did?
that I did? One scene that we had with reshoots was, I'm trying to remember where Ash is attacked by a demon. And I think her line was, "And you shall die," or something like that. And I don't think there was much more. I think it might have been something that was just an insert that needed to be put in there. It might even have been the scene when Ash goes down the well in the castle, by the castle, and he's attacked down there, and then afterward there's the blood geyser, and he comes on out, and he does the whole "this is my boomstick" shtick. So there's an example of what we have there. Well, that's pretty much the script. So like I said, this one was on the set. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures now from Army of Darkness. Let's see, I show you the one of Ted. This is actually a Christmas card that was sent to me by Sam and Rob and Bruce, and it's signed, and what does it say? Deck the hells with parts of Molly, which is their sense of humor. Season's greetings and best wishes from Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and Rob Tappert. And Rob said, "Thank you for the great sound. All the best in 92." So that was very, very nice of them to send this. And Bruce has a thing. Piss, piss. Can you hear this? But that's Bruce's sense of humor, being a sound guy.
Who's Rob?
Oh, Rob Tappert was the producer, and he has been with Sam since the first Evil Dead movie. I don't have a picture of Rob. He's behind the scenes. Very nice guy, very, very good producer, actually. It's funny because there was I'll tell you a little inside story of the movie. That can go away, okay. There was a scene where Ash is transported back in time because he said the words and the evil took him back in time. And he falls into a scene where he falls in the foreground, Ash does, and the Oldsmobile, which is in all their movies, falls in the background. Well, when we were filming that scene, we were in the bottom of a water collection pit, you might say. It's about 150, 200 feet to the top, and a crane picked up the car, and Bruce was standing in the foreground, away from the car, down at the bottom, ready to jump in the scene close to the camera, and you see the car fall down in the background. Well, the first time we shot that scene, the crane was moving the car over the open space, and it tipped and went over the cliff. And oh my God, I remember the assistant director, Mr. John Cameron, not James Cameron, John Cameron, yelled, "Run for your lives." And we all took off, and luckily nobody was hurt, and we were all hemming and hawing and going, "Oh my God, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah." And Rob is kind of smiling. And I said, "Gee, Rob, I'm sorry this happened." He said, "Well, don't worry about it. We have insurance for this shoot. And what this means is we'll probably get a free day's worth of shooting because they're going to pay for this." Which is, I don't know if I should have said that story. Oh, but it's true. He had a pretty good perspective on anything. Nobody was hurt, and it was quite a story that we can all tell about what was involved in the movie. But the crane went over the cliff.
The whole crane?
The whole crane went over the cliff. And the funny thing is if I recall this right, the crane operator got out on the side that was going over the cliff, but because there were outrigger legs, it was picked up over him, and he was fine. He was a little shaken up, but he was fine. And then the next day we went and got a bigger crane and did the whole thing again. But we didn't have it go over the cliff. The first movie I worked on with them was, for the Renaissance Pictures, was Lunatics, A Love Story, which was directed by their good friend, Mr. Josh Becker, who I think is, I think he's working a lot actually right now. I'm not sure exactly what he's done lately, but I keep seeing his name pop up. But it's an old guy trying to remember everything he has in his life. But having said that, that's where I met the Renaissance people. I did sound on Lunatics, A Love Story, and they used. What's interesting is I think the thing that they really appreciated is Lunatics was a low-budget picture, much lower than Army of Darkness was, and So they were really trying to save as much money as they could. And I think they were really appreciated the fact that all of my, or most of my, I should say, most of my production tracks were the ones they could actually use in the movie, which saves them a lot of money, because usually what they have is something called ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, or that's also known as looping. And they didn't have to do very much, if any, for Lunatics, which means the sound that I got on the set was good enough to go into the movie.
So ADR, they have to come back and do the sound.
Yeah, I believe it's additional dialogue recording is what ADR is. And what they do is they put a loop of a movie, and they have the loop. Basically what they're doing with the loop is they have a piece of film with the sound sunk with it, and they keep playing it. I'll give you an example of it. Are we on now? Are we on now? Are we on now? That's how the loops play. And when they record, they listen to that, are we on now? Are we on now? And then they get into the rhythm of it, and they get the sound of their voice there, and then they re-record it cleanly. And that way, if there's an airplane, or if there's somebody talking in the background, or if there's some ambient noise that they didn't want, they can replace it and start with a fresh dialogue track and add whatever they want in the background. If they want to add something like a carousel playing, they can do that. And there is so much to actually the sound in a movie that people don't really realize how important sound is to the movie. You take movies and you shut off the sound and you watch it, a lot of them they just don't have the impact, because sound does such a job of enhancing the picture and giving emphasis and setting the mood. And if you have different scenes where they're cutting between different people, and you have a song playing in the background, you have to put that song in later, because if you cut the film and you had used the song that was sung to the film, you would never get it to precisely line up. A little about Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell brought me into the fold of the Renaissance Pictures. He's a very nice guy, very knowledgeable about sound, and we had very good conversations when he was interviewing me for the job on Lunatics: A Love Story. And basically, I went out to Los Angeles when I worked on Army of Darkness, and he was the one who hired me onto that movie to do that movie. Had I met Sam yet? I think I met Sam on Lunatics. I don't remember exactly, but the interesting thing is the relationship between Bruce and Sam, because Sam is Bruce's tormentor. Anytime you see something happen to Bruce in one of the movies where water's being thrown on him, he's being tripped, something's happened to him, Sam is usually off camera doing that thing to Bruce, and he puts Bruce through heck. I mean, there was the scene in Army of Darkness where he is going back in time. He's going through the portal, and he's spinning, and I think we did that. We reshot that thing about 3 or 4 times, if I remember. and being the sound guy, I was privy to having a microphone on Bruce, so I could hear him. And Sam said, "All right, we're gonna do another take." That's kind of a Sam Raimi kind of imitation, not a very good one. But I remember he said, "All right, we're gonna do another take," and I hear Bruce under his breath saying, "Oh dear God, make it stop." Because he was literally on wires, He was on wires that were attached to his middle section, and he was spinning head over heels. maybe 30 feet. He was being pulled across the stage as the Intravision studio, I think is where we shot this, which is in Hollywood. And he was being pulled toward the camera, spinning head over heels, 30 feet over a cement floor. I don't know, they probably took the wires out. I don't know exactly how they had some of the digital technology was starting to come online. So he really wanted that to stop. But another thing was, actually, not people know that Bruce actually had an injury during the movie. There is a scene where he's in the castle and he's fighting two deadites. He's on the stairs, and one is above him and one is below him. And, he's basically doing the two-sworded battle there. And he actually ended up, this was like 2 or 3 in the morning when we were shooting this. And something happened, as they do when you have a lot of craziness going on. And I think I forget what he cut. I think he got a cut on his face. Now, the weapons weren't sharp. I don't know how it happened, because there's always prop weapons to make sure people are safe. And this created, and they rushed him to the hospital. We were down for about an hour or so, and Bruce came back, and they hit it with makeup, and he continued for the rest of the night. Bruce is one heck of a trooper. I don't know how I would have reacted to that, but I'm a sound mixer. We sit behind a tape recorder and we record sound, and that's what we do.